Oh. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Cross Country Bank Angler. I'm back at it again today. You know, it's late October here, but it really does not feel like it at all. It's in the mid 80s today. I think this is actually like close to record-breaking high temperatures for this time of year, which, you know, don't love that really for fishing in the fall, but you know, since it feels like summer, I'm just going to treat it kind of like a summer day. We're out here, we're going to do some wet wading. I'm at this river here. One of my first wading trips of the year was at this river, and we did pretty good that time. There was, you know, we had to kind of get away from the access point a little bit, away from the areas that were getting pressured a bit more before we really had a consistent bite going. So hopefully we can do something similar to that today. So you can see there was kind of like a little fall line here, and then this deeper pool. You know, this is definitely a spot that will probably hold some fish, but it gets, you know, it gets fished by everyone that comes down here. So the fish are smarter in here. You know, they've seen some lures. So we're going to start off around this area for a little while with like some finesse techniques, and then we'll kind of try to do what we did last time. You know, go downstream, fish some faster lures, cover some water, and yeah, see what we can find. You know, got the BFS set up today. You know, looking for really any species that's willing to bite. You know, bass, panfish, fallfish. There's several different species in here. So, you know, got a few hours today. Hopefully we can make something of it. You never know until you throw. So, let's go. All right, people. Starting off here with this Nico Helgramite. It's got it on like a Ned style jig head here, 1/16 of an ounce with a little wire weed guard on it. Just gonna, yeah, try something slow, something very natural looking to start off with here. See a lot of people catching fish with this bait on YouTube. I personally don't think it's as effective in my area as it is in some other places, but I've caught a few fish on it. But I just tend to get it snagged really easily for some reason. I just have bad luck getting this thing snagged. But caught a PB Fallfish on this earlier this year. Didn't get that into a video because the rest of the day didn't really go so well, but it was on this bait. Hey, how's it going? Nothing so far. Ooh, something was messing with it. I think it was just a sunfish. Some, you know, quick tap, tap, tap. Not really like a bass hit. Alright guys, so I swapped over to this Thomas Whirlfish. Kind of like a spoon spinner hybrid, sort of. Caught a fish on this last time. I'm going to make a couple casts around here before we move on, just to see if maybe they just didn't want the finesse lure right now. You know, the Helgramite. This little weighs a 1/6 of an ounce, so can cast it pretty far on this setup. All right, time to keep moving, guys. Got some walking to do. We're mostly gonna just be walking for the next 20 or 30 minutes at least. We'll make a few casts in likely areas, but if what we learned last time holds up, then we need to really get a significant distance away from the access point before we can get into some good fishing. But I don't know, we'll see. It's awfully quiet out here. I haven't really seen, you know, that much signs of activity from larger fish. You know, everything seems kind of slow right now, but who knows, things can change in an instant. It's part of fishing. There's a fish, guys. First fish of the day, it's a fall fish. All right, buddy, we got you. It's on one hook point. Thought it was a bass at first, but we'll take a fall fish too. He might flip off this hook, I don't know. All right, guys, let's take a look at him. Hold on, buddy. There he is. Pretty little fall fish, about 10 inches. Didn't give that much of a fight. Just kind of came up and slapped it right in front of me. So I didn't really have to reel him in very far. All right, guys. First fish of the day is a fall fish. Get a real quick picture of him. Oh, well, there he goes. Flipped out of my hand. That's all right. They're very squirmy fish, so that happens sometimes. That's okay. You guys got to look solid fish to start with. You know, we've been walking for a while, but I started seeing shoreline cover, you know, fallen trees, deeper water, and we scored our first fish. So like I'm saying, guys, you basically fish just like a spinner, like an inline spinner. You just cast, let it sink to the depth you want, slow retrieve back, and that silvery body just rotates. And it has a, you know, just like sort of a minnow profile. Here's a fish, guys. Tiny redbreast sunfish. Hit it, guys. There he is, ambitious little fish there. About 3 inches. Thank you, buddy. Yeah, guys, there's just lots of, you know, there isn't a lot of current in this part of the river, but there's lots of little laydowns and blowing over trees and stuff. And all sorts of fish love to hide around that type of cover. Here's a fish. Finally got one to commit. Getting a little annoyed watching these guys follow it. All right, it's a better redbreast. All right, let's take a look at him, guys. Nothing crazy, but it's another fish, maybe a 5-inch, 4.5-inch little redbreast. All right, see you, little guy. Oh. Fallfish, guys. I saw this guy following it, and he was kind of hesitating, but I kind of twitched the lure off of the bottom a couple times, and he tried to go for it. Fish number 4. All right, guys, let's take a look at him. If he'll sit still, stop. There he is. Another fallfish, guys. Predatory minnow species. Oh, what's coming down here to the... Oh, there's a deer over there. Just went to the river. All right, little fallfish. I'm gonna try to get a picture of this one. Hopefully it won't jump out of my hand like the last one did. There we go, got our picture. All right, little fallfish, thank you so much, buddy. You've been very patient. That was interesting catch there. Didn't want it on the straight retrieve. We had to hop it up off the bottom. All right, guys, I switched over to a suspending jerkbait. This is a Rapala Husky jerk. I don't fish with suspending jerkbaits very often. I tend to prefer the floating ones, but you know, it gives you that ability to kind of pause the bait and let it hang in the water, and sometimes that can be important. But overall, I'm not a huge jerkbait angler. But yeah, this is more of a bass lure. Ooh. I like we might have had a nibble right there. So yeah, really going more for a bass, but this thing could probably catch a fallfish or a ambitious sunfish as well. I saw a fish following it, but it was like once it got a certain distance away, fish just turned away. I think it was another fallfish. There's a fish. It's a bass, guys. Alright, let's take a look at him. He looks a little interesting. Alright, guys, check this one out. This is not what I was expecting to catch today. This is not a smallmouth or a largemouth. This is actually a little spotted bass. You can see the eyes are red here. He's also got a little patch of teeth on the tongue. And then another easy way to tell between this and like a largemouth is that there's a clear connection here between the soft dorsal and the spiny dorsal. In a largemouth, that's very unusual. Usually there's a little bit of separation there. So this is about a 9-inch spotted bass, guys. All right, let's let this bass go. Hit the jerk bait. Thank you, little guy. Off he goes. First bass of the day, and it was not the species I would have expected. Thought it was just largemouth and smallmouth in here. There's a fish, guys. All right. It's a little smallmouth on the Helgramite. Switch back to the Nico Helgramite just to see if we could find some sort of bass on it. And it worked. Alright, there he is, guys. Little smallmouth. About similar size to that spotted bass, maybe 9 inches. Nothing special, nothing fancy out here right now. Alright. Thank you, little bass. Let's send you on back. Woo! Didn't he do all that? What is good, everybody? So, if you stayed this far into the video, I want to say thank you for watching all the way through and for your support. I was just editing this video and I wanted to throw in a couple of just observations. Make this video a little more informative for you guys. I'm trying to have like a theme to each video, so I wanted to talk a little bit just about going out in the fall and wading on smaller creeks or rivers, smaller rivers, kind of like the one in this video. Just some differences, things to be aware of when you're going out this time of year. There was a video on this spot from back in the spring, I think in April. That was like the first wading trip I did of the whole year. And, things were definitely different from, that time and from this time. So the first thing that I think you should be aware of if you do go out wading in the fall is the fact that, in the fall, at least around me, a lot of the creeks and rivers tend to get pretty low water levels in the fall. So you want to be considerate of that when you're going out. Don't bring, a heavy, medium heavy like bass rod out there to wade a creek or a river like that. It's really overkill. I mean, even if you're targeting bass specifically, I really wouldn't go above like 8-pound test line for these small rivers and creeks. The water's just really clear. The fish are more likely to be able to see your line and your hooks and stuff like that. So there's definitely a benefit to going with the lighter gear. I mean, you guys know if you watch this channel that I enjoy fishing with light tackle, ultralight, BFS. That was what this video was, BFS. It's kind of, a nice sort of finesse setup. I use a 7-pound line on my BFS for bait finesse. And a lot of this stuff counts for the summer too. Water gets low in the summer, obviously in the heat. So that kind of carries over. If you can make a long cast, that can really be advantageous too, just less likely to spook the fish. So keep that in mind. Make long casts, use, downsize your setup, your lures, all of it. Make it a little more finessey than you would if you're just going out to, a lake or reservoir. Or something that I feel like I have observed when I'm wading in the fall is that the fish can be a little less predictable in where you can kind of find them. So in summer, it's kind of, once you get the hang of it, it's sort of pretty easy to guess where the fish are. You're looking for areas of deeper water, but areas that also have a lot of, more current, movement, rapids, riffles, that kind of thing. That tends to be where the fish hang out in the summer. That water's cooler, more oxygenated, more comfortable. They can kind of wait in ambush for things to kind of drift downstream in the current. And you can still find some fish in the fall that way as well. But they tend to be, and this seems to be true for pond and lake fishing too, a little less predictable, a little more scattered. So there were a couple of fish, especially some of the bass catches. The bass in this video, they weren't really turned on. I had to really slow down to catch most of the bass. But there were a couple where it was just kind of like a fairly random cast, up against a cliff wall or or not really near current or anything like that, where we got a bite, hit from one of those little smallmouth or something like that. And in the summer, that's more unusual, I think. You're really fish are not going to deviate too much from being near the current, being near that deeper water. And of course, the one place you should always cast to, no matter what time of year it is any kind of structure. Wood cover, that river has a lot of wood in it. That's pretty much always a good place to cast to. It's always going to hold some fish. Maybe not bass, especially if it's in a quiet area. Maybe more panfish. But bass too, so that's something else. That rule stays the same. But yeah, maybe compared to summer wading, try to cover a little more water until you start getting a couple of bites. And that's sort of what happened today. I'm going to try to do a couple more wading trips maybe next fall. I really wanted to go out like one more time to wade, but didn't really get the chance to. But I definitely want to try to do more wading in the future in the fall, because pond fishing and the lake fishing, more like the bass fishing type of approach, tends to be more hit or miss sometimes. I guess another thing too, just to be cognizant of when you're out wading in the fall, is your comfortability and everything, because in the fall the air temps are dropping, the water temps are dropping. In this video I did some wet wading because it was a hot day. It was in the 80s in October, which is kind of weird for my area. That's definitely unusually warm. Prepare yourself, with the weather conditions. If it's a colder day, later in the year, go ahead and get, strap into your waders. Wear a couple layers out there. You don't want to get, hypothermia or something out here wading. So just be cognizant of the conditions, because they can swing back and forth depending on where you are in the country and just from week to week. With that being said, thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you next time.